Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear about a possible link between diabetes and Alzheimer's disease. And the authors of a new book on water resources discuss water's non-economic value. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Lawyers for the Arizona Coyotes say they're at work on a $200 million lawsuit against the city of Glendale. This comes after the Glendale City Council last night voted to terminate a 15-year agreement with the hockey team. The city claims that the Coyotes violated a conflict of interest law when the team hired a Glendale city attorney not long after the deal was negotiated. The Coyotes claim no law was broken and that Glendale's actions are a, quote, blatant attempt to renege on a valid contract. We will have much more on this story tomorrow night on the Journalists Roundtable. Well, diabetes could well be a major factor in the increasing number of Americans suffering from Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. That's according to our guest, Elliot Mufson, director of the Alzheimer's Disease Research Laboratory at Barrows Neurological Institute. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, diabetes linked with Alzheimer's and dementia. Explain, please.
Diabetes has two forms. One is juvenile diabetes and the other is adult onset diabetes, and they both affect the body's ability to process sugar, which is the fuel which cells need to function properly throughout the body, and one of the including the brain. So when you have problems with manufacturing or digesting glucose or sugar in the body, it affects the function of the cells, and the cells in particular in the brain, which are responsive for memory and things of that nature, get dysfunctional, and therefore you can run into memory problems like you see in Alzheimer's disease.
Now, is there a connection with type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, both?
No, the biggest connection is between type 2 diabetes and Alzheimer's disease. Certain studies have suggested that you're twice as likely perhaps to get Alzheimer's disease if you have type 2 diabetes, which is what's called adult onset diabetes, and it's due to insulin resistance to the cells to glucose consumption. So over time, and I think there's like 27 million folks who have diabetes over the age of 65, and there's a strong probability that those people may be more at risk for developing Alzheimer's disease than with a person who's not type 2 diabetic. So
the impact of blood sugar and blood sugar levels on the brain, what can you tell us about that? Well,
if the fuel that you need to keep the cells functioning is not there, then you lead to degeneration. So the brain is composed of a large number of brain cells, all of which interact to form memories. So without the appropriate amount of fuel, which is the glucose or the sugar, then it leads to memory deficits, probably because you have problems in the vasculature and the blood vessels, as well as cellular degeneration within the brain. It's sort of like taking all the gas out of your car and trying to run the car. You can't do it because there's no fuel. So if you don't have the fuel to energize your brain cells, you will eventually have memory problems.
And is that because of inflammation? Is the glucose blocked because of inflammation, or what's happening up there?
You know, it's not really clear what the process is. It may be that the insulin and activity involved in the uptake of glucose is dysfunctional because if you think about insulin and sugar, it may be like a lock and key situation, so they don't interact properly, and then the cell doesn't take in the appropriate amount of the fuel that it needs. and over time, as I said, you could develop dementia.
One study shows high blood sugar levels lead to a presence of a protein, this amyloid beta protein. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, Alzheimer's disease is characterized by the deposition of the protein you referred to as amyloid protein, and these form these deposits in the brain of people with Alzheimer's disease. You see it in certain other diseases, and also the literature seems to indicate that insulin can play a role in the deposition of that protein, and that protein builds up in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease over time, and then that contributes to the cognitive problems that people with Alzheimer's disease show.
And another study shows that middle-aged type 1 this is type 1 diabetics, middle-aged type 1s, more brain lesions leads to slower cognitive function, so type 1 is affected as well, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's not, apparently you can have an interaction with type 1, but the major emphasis has been on type 2 diabetes, which is a later onset type of diabetes.
One more study I got here, that women without diabetes, 2 times as likely to have a good cognitive function as those with diabetes. I mean, this is pretty serious and substantial stuff here. I mean, how revolutionary is this in Alzheimer's research?
Well, you know, it's interesting. The interaction between diabetes and Alzheimer's disease is not new. It has been known for, or thought to be the case for at least, 10, 15 years. But it's received a sort of an upsurge of interest. There's been several articles published about the relationship between it. I believe the NIH, National Institute of Health, has an ongoing clinical trial trying to see if insulin can alleviate some of the symptoms associated with Alzheimer's disease.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it too much to say that Alzheimer's could be a type 3 diabetes?
You know, that they use that phrase. I wouldn't go that far because I don't think we know enough about it yet, but because a lot of people who have type 2 diabetes won't get Alzheimer's disease. It's not everybody. It's a risk factor. Like in cardiovascular disease, if you don't exercise, you don't eat properly, those are risk factors for having a heart attack. But it doesn't mean you're going to get a heart attack. So it's too early, in my opinion, to make that jump.
Well, this early, though, I guess we have to go in this direction. Are you finding that Alzheimer's research is moving more in this direction?
Alzheimer's research today is primarily focused on the beta amyloid that we talked about before. It needs to expand its horizons, so to speak, into other areas, and the insulin and glucose question is an interesting area to go in. I would like to see more research money put into that. We try to expand things at the Barrow Neurological Institute where I work. We're interested in understanding why nerve cells die, and one of the things that we look at is how glucose affects cell survival in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease.
So as far as Alzheimer's, which I don't want to get too far away from diabetes, 1 in 11 Americans have diabetes. 1 in 3 have pre-diabetes. Yeah. I mean, that, and the numbers for Alzheimer's are increasing, correct? Right. I mean, there's just no doubt about that, correct?
Yes. With the, right now there's approximately 5.4 million people with Alzheimer's disease. That's just in this country alone.
Yeah. And
they predict by 2050 it'll be up to like 15 million people. And there's, like you were saying, a huge amount of people with type 2 diabetes. So you can think that if you have 5.4 million people, 15 million people, and then you start adding on the effects of diabetic related brain dysfunction, that's going to be a huge burden on society.
Yes, it is. The age for adult onset for Alzheimer's, is that lowering?
It's not lowering. I mean, I don't know what you exactly mean by lowering. It's probably be about 65 or 70.
Okay, so that's staying the same then?
It's pretty much the same. I mean, there's different, you can begin to show some signs of Alzheimer's disease earlier, where you have what they call mild cognitive impairment, the precursor, so to speak,
right,
to Alzheimer's disease.
Last question on this, with that in mind, is there any study being done, research being done to show those who have the early signs, the early signals, putting them on perhaps a non-carb, no-sugar diet, these sorts of things. Anything go in there?
You know, the physicians suggest those things to the patients. As I said before, there are some clinical trials with trying to get insulin into the brain to promote the cells to take up more glucose. But I don't know of any that have really, you know, shown any promise yet. The one trial I did mention, I think, is not due to have results until 2017, so we still have to go. But overall in society, it's a big problem, and it's going to get worse if we don't hurry up and find some sort of treatment for it.
Well, all right. It's good to have you here. Great information. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Expand your horizon with the Arizona Horizon website. To get there, go to azpbs.org. Click on the Arizona Horizon tab at the top of the screen. Once there, you can access many features. Watch interviews by clicking on the video button. You can also find out what's on Arizona Horizon for the coming week. If you would like an RSS feed, a podcast, or want to buy a video, that's all on the website too. Want to learn about specific topics like immigration or the legislature? You can visit our special web sections. Show your support for Arizona Horizon at azpbs.org/Arizona Horizon. Get the inside scoop on what's happening at Arizona PBS. Become an 8 Insider. You'll receive weekly updates on the most anticipated upcoming programs and events. Get the 8 Insider delivered to your email inbox. Visit azpbs.org to sign up today.
In tonight's edition of Arizona Sustainability, we hear about the non-economic value of water. What Water is Worth is a new book that takes a different look at how water is valued. Joining us now are the book's authors, Kyra Russo from Northern Arizona University School of Communication and Zachary Smith, an NAU Regents Professor of Politics and International Affairs. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
So what is water worth?
Well, it depends on who you ask. One of the interesting things that we were looking at is, the ways that water is valued in the monetary ways, which of course would include water for drinking, water for agriculture, the ways that we conventionally think of it in a monetary system. But we were looking at ways in which water might be valued outside of that. So ways communities value water otherwise. And it became the focus of our book.
Yeah, and the non-economic value of water seems to be the emphasis here. To talk to us about it. What does that mean?
Well, we got the idea. We attended the World Water Congress in Brazil. We were presenting some related research. And in talking to representatives from the less developed world, many people were interested in Western water management concepts and concerns. And one of the things that was kicked around was the notion of beneficial use. And beneficial use is a concept that is widely used in the West. And I think it's widely abused, and it is widely misused. For example, beneficial use often doesn't include the use of water for aesthetic reasons, for religious reasons, for And there are religions that highly rank water as part of their religious ceremonies. And so I was wondering about what other concepts in Western water law may not be appropriate to be imported into the less developed world. And that's what kicked this whole thing off. And then we started looking at how other societies and other cultures valued water and what water was worth to them. And we discovered that in the United States, we think of water in economic terms. We think of it, what is the highest economic use that we can put water to? And that makes a certain amount of sense from an economic perspective. But life isn't only about money. And the best things in life are sometimes about things that are not connected to a monetary value.
Well, how do you transfer those things, the spiritual conservation, just water for water's sake? How do you transfer that to a more tangible thing that people can put their arms around?
And that's one of the things we were looking at. So our original study looked at how water managers were able, or if they were able, to value water outside of traditional economic or monetary means. And we found that most of them either couldn't find a scale for that, or they couldn't include it in a monetary scale, you know, sort of a westernized scale. And the places that did, what was interesting is they, in general, they would place that way down on the scale, but what they would do is they would say, for example, this First Nations group, you know, believes that there's a spiritual entity in the lake. And so we can justify, you know, how we would build a road around that. There are certain things we can do, but unless it fell into those traditional or conventional standards, otherwise they couldn't be valued. And what we've argued in our book is that those community values are so integral to societies that water managers need to be very aware of those, and that they need to find other ways to bring those values into that valuation.
Let me give you a concrete example from Arizona. We have beneficial uses which we determine in allocating water. You can't have a beneficial use of water of just letting it run in the stream. It has to be tied to recreation, it has to be tied to something. And this is common throughout the West. So if a group of people like the Sierra Club or the Nature Conservancy want to appropriate water for an aesthetic purpose only, it's very difficult. Again, because of the dominant theme, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just that there should be a room in this process for other ways of thinking about and using water.
Well, I was going to ask that. How much can financial considerations be ignored when it comes to water?
Well, that depends. I mean, it depends upon what the water's for, and it depends upon who's valuing the water. I mean, Arizona, right now, Arizona is going through this so-called crisis about water in the future. There's no doubt in my mind that there'll be plenty of water for Arizona in the future. It'll be expensive, and it may mean that that people have to pay as much for their cell phone bills each month as they do for their water. It may mean that we have to purchase water rights from farmers, and it may mean that we have to build infrastructure for bringing seawater up for desalinization, but there will be water. So if it's a conflict between water that's being sold for $3,000 an acre foot, that is not water that's going to be running through a stream. That's water that's going to be used for an economic purpose. But as it is now, we don't have the mechanism in many Western states, and we didn't feel like we wanted that mechanism transferred to countries that were developing water rights systems, because in many countries they don't have them yet. We felt that we didn't want that system transferred to countries that were developing water rights systems unless there was consideration taken into these non-economic uses.
So are there mechanisms out there, ideas, plans, prototypes for recognizing the non-economic value of water?
There are, and as a matter of fact, the past 2 days I attended a conference down on the Gila River Reservation, and it was called Indigenous Perspectives perspectives on sustainable water management. And what was interesting about that was that those practices are in place in communities. That's where we believe that water managers should spring from, that water managers hold a responsibility to the people they serve.
I was going to say, I noticed in your book you look for a new definition of a water manager.
Mm-hmm.
Explain,
Exactly.
please.
Basically, you know, we don't necessarily define water manager as one person or anything like that. It can be councils, but we believe that water managers should spring from the communities that they serve, that they should hold the integrities of those communities as integral.
Another way of putting that is that the management system for a water resource should reflect the community values. And that could be a collaborative organization, or it could be, and one might argue that the system we have in Arizona reflects community values.
Well, there you go. I also noticed that you argue for water as a human right. Explain that, please.
Well, that's been accepted by the United Nations now. Water is now a human right according to the UN. The idea is very simple, that since water is fundamental to life, that we should, as a planet, provide good, clean, fresh water to everybody on it.
And yet we don't.
And yet we don't. So, but I mean, the concept of water as a human right, new?
It's not necessarily a new concept, but what we've looked at is this idea of monetization and commodification of water does not reflect that. It doesn't allow for water to be reserved in that way.
In many parts of the world, they have privatized water systems to the extent that those systems now water is not available, good quality potable water is not available to citizens in parts of the cities.
Okay, before we go, what do you want people to take from this effort?
First off, that water managers should be responsible, and that we don't have to look far from here to know that people are not all receiving quality water.
All right, it's good to have you both here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Animal welfare agencies say Maricopa County ranks second only to Los Angeles County when it comes to pet overpopulation. Most think of dogs and cats when it comes to these pets, but as producer Christina Estes and photographer Juan Magana show us, there's another furry friend that often needs help.
When we created this, we wanted to create something that was a cheery place, a happy place.
That place is Tranquility Trail, a sanctuary for domestic bunnies.
That's Gigi, and she's our youngest bunny. She's 4 months old.
Kelly Ames and her volunteers care for 75 bunnies at the Scottsdale shelter.
Sadly, we do have a 1-year waiting list of people who are wanting to surrender their rabbits. Rabbits are actually the 3rd most surrendered animal in the shelter system, and there are very few resources for them.
Sometimes they get rabbits directly from people who no longer want them. And sometimes bunnies are just dumped outdoors, like baby Gigi.
She was abandoned in a shoebox with no food and no water, with sick baby bunny written across it.
Gigi is doing well now, and so is Fred, but it's taken a while.
He had to have an eye removed, he had abscesses, he's had respiratory issues, but he's always been the happiest little guy.
They rescued Fred and many others from a woman who didn't even know how many rabbits lived in her backyard.
She thought she had about 40 when she called us. So when we got there, we were a bit surprised that there were actually 107 but 3 of the girls were pregnant and had 25 babies between them 2 days after we got everybody here.
That was more than 3 years ago, and they still have nearly 50 rabbits from that rescue.
A lot of these bunnies have come to us from places where people haven't been very kind to them. So it's our job to teach them to trust people again. And as a prey animal, it does take a little longer for bunnies to trust new people.
Kelly never rushes adoptions. She stays focused on finding the right family for each rabbit.
Some are super active, some are more couch potatoes, some are really needy, some are more independent.
Like this one, named Bianca.
AKA Diva. She's queen bee. She just wants to do her own thing.
Christine Martin visits Tranquility Trail twice a week.
What, you silly? Why you silly?
She volunteers to feed the rabbits and clean their rooms.
I'll give them new linens or blankets. I'm actually one of the bunny's new interior designer because I like to decorate his home very special depending on the day and, you know, how he's feeling that day.
This self-described cat lover says bunnies have a calming effect on her.
So I am definitely a bunny person now, for sure.
The bunnies are all litter box trained and can run around the house just like cats and dogs. Their daily exercise includes an hour a day in one of 8 play areas.
Every time I come here and I walk through that door, it is the most amazing experience for me. The compassion, the love, and the peacefulness that I feel when I'm here, just, it makes me so happy.
Kelly wants others to feel that way too. That's why Tranquility Trail is open to the public 7 days a week.
We have so many people come in just to visit. They've just been driving by and they're curious as to what we do. And by the end of their visit, they almost always say, wow, I didn't know bunnies were so smart, or they didn't know they were so fun, or I didn't know they had such personality. And I think once people start to see that, things will change for them.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.